One girl, small girl, she was about 45 kilos. I remember telling her, listen, I'll go light on you because I'm much bigger than you. And I've been training, at that time I'd been training boxing for 10 years. I was like, I'll go very light on you. She's like, yeah. She's like, do what you want. I went in and next thing I know, I was unconscious and I was looking at the ceiling. I was like, what happened? And she was like, yeah, you just came in, I grabbed your neck, I put you in a guillotine and you didn't tap and you went to sleep. Like, damn. The first time Anshu came for class, a few people actually came to me and they said, there's a guy who's come for training. Yeah. He says he's never trained before, but clearly the way he's moving, he knows what's up. Gone are the days where you go to a master who's fat, sitting on a chair and people are touching his feet. If an academy is like that, don't go there.
How are we doing, fight fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fight Talk with Moji. And today's episode is going to be slightly different from the videos that I've already put up because this is going to be a longer and a deeper conversation with my guest today, Mr. Siddharth Singh. Siddharth Singh is the founder and the head coach in Crosstrain Fight Club located in Delhi. It's a gym which is very close to my heart because I've trained there myself and it was my first ever MMA gym. So it's safe to say that it had a huge impact in my life. Second reason why this video is so important to me is because this was the first ever video that I shot for my YouTube channel. Coming back to our guest, Siddharth Singh is a 4-time world championship winner in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His world ranking is 11 and his Asia rank 4. He's undoubtedly the most decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner in India, and now he is the most decorated MMA coach as well. His student Anshu Jubli made it to the UFC to become the second ever MMA fighter to be signed with the world's largest MMA company. And throughout this conversation, I tried to understand what goes behind the making of a world-class MMA athlete. He also spoke about his obsession with the sport, how it all started, and how he is convinced that is going to go on to become the second biggest sport in our country after cricket. So enjoy this episode of Fight Talk with Moji featuring Siddharth Singh.
Alright, so we're finally here at the Crosstrain Fight Club in Noida. I mean, it's been 10 years, I believe, since the last time I saw you, because it was in Safdarjung.
Yes.
So I believe it's almost 8 years or 10 years. And it's been a long journey, I'm sure, and it's been a good one, I believe. And I want to start with the most basic yet underrated question. How are you doing, coach?
Wow. Yeah. People don't really ask me that too much.
Right.
Usually the questions are, coach, I have a fight coming up. What do I do next? I need to cut weight. I need to improve. Where do I need to improve? Those are the questions I generally get. Nobody asks me how I'm doing. So it's a good to get that question. Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. Yeah, it's been 11 years of cross-train now. Right. We're in our 11th year. And it's just been a fun ride. Right. We've gone through so many ups and downs. Finally, I think we are at a point where people are starting to recognize MMA as a sport. We are starting to get youngsters training in it. About 2012-13, when people would ask what I do, and I would mention mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu, and they would just make, like, what are you doing again? Yeah. And then you have to explain to them that, it's kind of like combining every martial art combined, and they didn't really understand it. They thought it's more like WWE.
I'm sure, yeah.
So, but at least now you tell people McGregor, some of the big names, they recognize it. That cage, cage fighting.
They still don't know anything about the sport, right?
But they've heard of McGregor, they've heard of a couple of Ronda Rousey, a couple of, people there. But yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, I mean, Conor McGregor, I think he's had a huge role to globalize the sport. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I got attracted to the sport, because he was so entertaining. Yeah. We'll go back a little. What was the point what was the reason why you decided that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? Was there a point in life? I mean, was there something?
Multiple things. I think it's like Steve Jobs said, connecting the dots when you go back. So I accidentally got into combat sports because of my brother. I was 12 years old, I was in a boarding school, and my brother was a boxer. And it was just by accident that because he was boxing, I was forced into boxing because nobody in my batch wanted to box. And my house boxing team wanted a boxer. So I got thrust into boxing. And I also didn't care about the sport until I lost. And I lost in front of the entire school.
Right.
And I didn't care about the sport, but when I lost, it really sucked.
Right.
To see myself defeated against another boy. Yeah. And that instilled like a fire in me that I need to get better in this sport, and that's how I actually started off with boxing. Yeah. And then when I went to the UK, so I finished my schooling in Dehradun, Doon School. Then I did my economics honors from Delhi, and then I went to do my master's degree in the UK.
Oh, same.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing my international strategy and economics from the UK, and then I was trying to find a good boxing gym, and I could not find any. So someone said, "Oh, there's this Muay Thai gym down the street. Try it out." I didn't know what it was. It said Thai boxing. I'm like, okay, it's like boxing, I'm guessing.
Sorry to interrupt. Which year is this?
This is 2007, I think.
2007. And you couldn't find a boxing gym in the UK?
You know,
oh, wow.
I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
Because again, the boxing gyms there are much like India. It's people who are training to be Olympic level boxers and stuff.
Right.
So where I lived, there wasn't any. They had a Thai boxing gym in North London, and that's where I went. And when I went, I thought it was going to be like boxing, but I didn't realize Thai boxing is so different. Thai boxing has punches, kicks, elbows, knees. Oh, wow, it's nothing like boxing at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then when we sparred the first day, I was getting kicked here and kicked there, and I realized, man, I love boxing. Boxing is so good, but these kicks are brutal as well.
Right.
So that's how I got into the second element of martial arts, which was Muay Thai. And again, accidental again, because I was trying to find a boxing gym, found Muay Thai.
Right.
And then one day in my Muay Thai gym, they were organizing a Jiu-Jitsu session, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu session. And I was like, what is that? Because I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of it. So they mentioned, oh, it's ground fighting. So I'd watched some UFC, and to be honest, I had not enjoyed the ground fighting elements. Every time the fight went to the ground, it looked quite boring.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want
As an audience.
Audience, yeah.
Right.
I'll like stand up and let's do kickboxing. That's what I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
So I sat out, and my coach there, Chris, at the time, was like, okay, you've come for the seminar. Just sit and watch. I was watching, and then one girl, small girl, she was about 45 kilos from Iran. She was left without a partner. They were doing technique and she didn't have a partner.
Yeah.
So my coach was like, Sid, why don't you, we won't charge you for the seminar. Just help her out. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help out. So yeah, I went in, we started sparring, and I didn't really realize what happened. I remember telling her, listen, I'll go light on you because I'm much bigger than you. And I've been training, at that time I'd been training boxing for 10 years. I was like, I'll go very light on you. She's like, yeah. She's like, do what you want. I went in, and next thing I know, I was unconscious, and I was looking at the ceiling. I was like, what happened? And she was like, yeah, you just came in, I grabbed your neck, I put you in a guillotine, and you didn't tap, and you went to sleep. I'm like, damn. I was like, okay, let me tell you something. Right. Next time, we'll go again. I'll go a little harder. She said, sure. And I went with everything I had. Pura dam laga diya. I went right in.
Right.
And I woke up 10 seconds later looking at the ceiling. Wow. Again, I'd been put to sleep, and I asked her what happened. She said, you came in, I arm dragged you, I took your back, I got a rear naked choke, I squeezed, you were trying to fight it, and then you didn't fight anymore, and you went unconscious. So yeah, she put me unconscious twice, and I realized, and I was 70 kilos at the time, she was 40, 45, 30 kilo difference, and I'd been training boxing and Muay Thai for years at that point.
Yeah.
So I realized, my God, this small girl has done this to me.
Yeah.
If I learn this, number one, I can do it to someone who's 100 kilos.
Right.
And vice versa. That's the day I thought, imagine if girls in India learn this. Because we have so much, rape and all blah, 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 all this happens.
Yeah.
If these girls learn this, and she can do this to me,
yeah.
our girls in India can do this to attackers as well.
Exactly.
So that's when the light bulb really went on that day. Maybe I should be learning this and teaching this. That was the origins actually of then I got into Jiu-Jitsu a lot, started training a lot.
Yeah.
And every time I would come home for holiday from Delhi, Delhi's home.
Right.
I would come for holidays. I would always try and find an MMA place in Delhi. I would never find a place.
Right.
It was all run by karate guys, kung fu guys, claiming to teach MMA, but it was never MMA. So that's when I thought, why don't I start it? No one's starting it. I waited a couple of years, to be honest. I waited for someone to start. Nobody's starting it. I was like, okay, this is going to be a big sport. I really am passionate about it.
Right.
I finish office at 5 in the UK, and at 6:30 I was in my Muay Thai gym every day. So I was so passionate about it. I was like, okay, if no one's doing it, I'll do it. And that is how we came back and we started Crosstrain in December 2012.
Wow! And cut to 10 years, you are BJJ World Rank 11 and Asia Rank 4. Yeah. I mean, for people who do not know how difficult that is, especially coming from a country like India, where the sport is, still unknown, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
So, and also it's interesting that what got you into that into this sport is to experience of loss, right? So that's really interesting, because you have to lose a lot in this sport during practice to actually win in bigger platforms, right?
You said it, I couldn't have said it better. It's the defeats in life that teach you so much more than the wins. People who have it easy, who are natural at something, often are the people who don't excel in that field.
Right.
It's the people who struggle, who understand what it what they don't have. They look at, and very often you look at marathon runners. It's the guy who's in the middle of the pack. He's running. He's the one who right in the end overtakes everyone and beats everyone because he has someone in front that he's looking at. So a lot of times when I lost in my fights, I lost in training, I wanted to be that guy in the front who's winning. I was never the guy who won. I was always the guy who came second, third, fourth, blah, blah, blah. So I always had a target. Like I wanted to be that guy in front. And because I didn't have natural talent, ability, it made me more hungry. I wanted to feel what it feels like to be the guy who wins.
The fire within.
And that's been the case with Crosstrain throughout. Since we started, we were never, nobody looked at us and said, finally there's a great MMA club in India. They all looked at, there's so many frauds, here comes another fraud.
Yeah.
And we fought that for so many years.
Right.
Again, with my jiu-jitsu, a lot of people said, self-taught, what's his lineage, who's graded him, nakli hai, fraud hai. But I can't go and roll with everybody to show that I'm legit.
Right.
The only way for me to show it was I started going out and competing all over India and winning everything. Once I started winning all the tournaments, I thought that'll tell people that, okay, he's legit, he's winning stuff. Then they were like, oh, but India doesn't have a high level, so what's the point? He's winning against nobodies.
Right.
Fair enough. I started going out and winning internationally on the Asian circuit.
Yeah.
I started going out and winning on Asia. I went and won ADCC Taiwan. Then they were like, oh, but he's only winning no gi. What about gi? Jiu-jitsu is gi in reality.
Right.
All right then. Then I started going out and competing in the gi. And like you said, I'm ranked 4 in Asia, 11 in the world, and I'm competing next month.
Right.
Constantly going and fighting against the best brown belts in the world. And again, when we talk about belts, it is white belt, lowest level, blue, purple, brown, black.
Right.
Now these brown belts who I compete against, they've been training since they were white belts with high level black belts. They all have 40, 50, 60 black belts teaching them on a daily basis.
Okay.
I started a white belt, teaching other white belts, having no one to teach me. So I've been in India training, turning everything in India, homegrown, from white to blue to purple to brown, and I'm still competing against browns who've trained with blacks all their life.
Right.
For me, when I see, there was a point when we started Crosstrain and we saw a blue belt, the first level, we would think, God has just come. Look at that, a blue belt has come to us.
Yeah.
That's the feeling it was because we were all white belts.
Right.
When we saw a blue belt, it was God for us. And even now when I go out, I have so much respect for black belts and stuff because I've never actually had an experience of training with a lot of black belts.
Right.
I see them once in a while. But yeah, it's the difficult thing is we didn't have an ecosystem in the country to help, for example, me or some of the higher athletes to grow better because we had to do everything on our own.
Correct.
There was nobody there to teach us,
which
is what made it more difficult.
While teaching the students, you were educating yourself throughout the process. And
I
that's
had
how
to.
you grew.
Yeah,
you had to. I mean, you didn't have any choice.
learn. I had to study 30 things.
Yeah.
Out of the 30 things, I had to see what things I could use in my game, maybe 10.
Right.
And out of those 10 things, I would see what my students would benefit from of all ages and sizes. And I would show them the 2-3 best things I got out of the 10.
Right.
So that process was a really tough one. It still is the same thing because again, I don't have black belts. I have a couple of mentors who help me out who are abroad, like Marcelo from Singapore, Elliot Kelly from the US, Ivan Tomasiti from Italy. The 3 mentors I have who will show me stuff from time to time through a WhatsApp video or something.
Right.
But generally it's just me learning everything and then
going through the
seeing
drills.
what I can use, see what my students can use.
Correct.
So that's been the real challenge of creating an ecosystem. We didn't even have mats, man.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even have these Fuji mats.
I mean, these are lovely. Yeah, I was just talking about the mats.
Now we're getting like Fuji mats from the US because the sport is growing. Now I can invest a lot more in it. 10 years ago, man, and it was a very different scene.
I'm sure. I mean, congratulations to you for what you have done, what you have built. That brings me to my next question. Actually, it's a debate, I guess. Meryl Streep once said, I think at the Oscars, that martial arts is not an art form. And probably a lot of people have that opinion about this sport. They just feel that it's barbaric. It's just 2 people beating the shit out of each other inside a steel cage, right?
Yeah.
I want to tell them that it's much more than that, right? So what do you have to say to those people who think that it's not an art form?
I would say 100 years ago, maybe, people didn't think electricity was useful.
Right.
They said there's no point, you're wasting your energy. Everything. So I studied strategy in university, and one of the concepts we spoke about was inertia and momentum.
Right.
And I think that's where the sport right now is in India. It's something which is like when we started off, nobody knew what MMA was. It's like rolling a heavy rock uphill. And that's the case everywhere in the world. People see a heavy rock and we see, like, nobody sees that it's being pushed up. So all of the guys who started off initially were pushing this rock up. There's inertia. You're not able to move this thing. Once it gets to the top, one day slowly, and the momentum has been built, you roll it downhill and then it's on autopilot. Right. So that moment, that initial inertia pushing people is like, is all the negativity that you get from people saying it's not going to grow, it's not worth it, blah, blah, because it hasn't still reached its peak yet.
Plus they are uneducated. I mean, most of these people, they don't know anything about martial arts.
It's like I said, for electricity, like for someone who's never experienced
it, exactly.
the benefits of electricity, they will never realize why it's useful. So I would, love for her to come and train in Jiu-Jitsu for 3 months, and she will realize that it's the most beautiful martial art ever. And going back to my first story of that girl choking me unconscious, man, there's no reason why she should have. She was so much smaller than me. I was so much bigger, more athletic, stronger. It was art. The way she put me to sleep, using technique and leverage.
When you mix it up and then you do stuff and go about the drills, it is a creative process. So I truly believe that it is an art. So
of course, it's. I mean, for someone to say it's not an art, it's clearly someone who's never trained.
Right.
Anybody who's trained it, you can ask any of them. They will say it for you. And I think anyone watching, they want to try it, they can come and generally when people come and train, their brains kind of gets blown away because they're like, okay, in their head, okay, I'll do this to this guy.
Yeah.
And then they realize, oh, actually he can do something else to me when I do this. And then when he does that, I can do something. So it's an infinite loop of techniques that go in together. And Jiu-Jitsu or mixed martial arts, the game is infinite. Nobody in the world can say they know everything about it.
Exactly.
And then the permutations and combinations that need to be used in a fight, anything can happen. So what to take out at what point, what technique to pull out at the right time, it's an art, man. There's no way around it.
I couldn't agree more. I almost find it meditative.
Yeah.
As in, because whenever I do roll, I'm not thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many things I can count where the things that I do throughout the day, where I'm actually there and not thinking about anything else. And that's what meditation is, when you're focusing on one single thing, right? So it feels like almost meditative to me.
Exactly. So I say it all the time to our students that if you're feeling happy, come and roll. If you're feeling sad, come and roll. You're confused in life, come and roll.
Yeah.
You're having a terrible day, come and roll. It's your birthday, come and roll. No matter what the occasion is, come and roll, because that's the one thing that centers you. No matter what's happening in life, if you're running up high, adrenaline, everything's going well, Jiu-Jitsu is going to bring you down here. If you're here and dead and depressed, it'll bring you up here. It's my constant.
Right.
That's what martial arts is, and on the mats, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter. Everyone's the same on the mats, and that's the beauty of it.
It's the most honest sport.
Exactly. I can't mention, but we have, a couple of guys who are billionaires who come and train here, and then we have people who I know for a fact are students on like student debt, like really struggling with life, but they're all training together like brothers.
That's beautiful.
And sisters, and like women as well. Doesn't matter what, everything. It's a world within a world, and that's kind of why it's a family. When we come on the mats, we look out for each other, help each other out. That's the reason why people love it so much.
Right. And there is a reason why it is, because it is the fastest growing sport in the world, right? And do you think that has to do a bit with human nature? Because what I feel is, we as humans, we tend to get attracted towards a physical altercation. I bet if there's a match happening and Virat Kohli is batting in the stadium and outside a full-blown fight breaks out, I'm 100% sure 90% of us would stop and look at the fight first and then probably go back to the match, right? You think that has to do with the human nature? People, they get attracted towards...
If you're walking down the street and someone's playing cricket, you watch it and like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
You're watching people and they're like throwing bombs at each other. You're like, okay, hold on. Who's getting knocked out right now?
Exactly.
It's so exciting. And I think that's how human beings also evolved.
Exactly.
We evolved through combat. We evolved, we came to 2023, our ancestors were fighting off lions and tigers, and that's how we are.
It's in our blood.
It's in our blood. Fighting and survival is in our blood. And because today we don't need to fight to survive. You can open Zomato, get food. You don't need to kill any lions. There is more of a need of experiencing combat sports now than it has ever been because it's a part of your DNA. And if you don't do it, honestly, there will be something missing. And you'll always be unsure of your purpose in life. You'll always be a little confused because there's a part of you which needs to have this experience. It needs to fight for survival. Right. And if you're not giving your body that, you're not giving your soul that, you will always be a little bit unsure about what's happening in life. Right. So that's why I always tell people that just come and try it, spar once, and it's completely safe. Like especially jiu-jitsu sparring is so safe. Someone catches you in a submission, you tap their body, they let you go, and you start again. You never get hurt, but you get to experience and mimic a real fight.
Exactly.
Someone's going 100%, you get to go 100%. How many times do people who don't compete get to go 100%? You watch a movie, you're like, oh, Akshay Kumar threw a punch like this, I'll throw a punch like this. You think you'll throw a punch like this. How many times have you actually thrown it?
Exactly.
How many times have you missed it? And then the guy's double-legged you. And now you're double-leg takedown on the ground with this guy pounding your face. How many times has that happened? Never. So you have to experience that to really understand your body's limits, your mind's limits. Because your mind, you'll be surprised how quickly it gives up on you also.
Yeah.
Because you have a game plan. I'm going to punch him, or I'm going to fight, I'm going to slap this guy. Right. The plan is to slap this guy and you think he'll stop. You slap him, nothing happens. Now your brain is like,
what do I do now? I don't know.
I only thought to slap. Because it's not trained. But here you have the whole system. There are multiple sequences you can run out and you train every day. So it's autopilot. If you get into a fight, it's autopilot. But having said that, we never tell our students to ever get into fights. It's an active rule that if someone gets into a fight, you stop training. We won't allow you to train.
Right.
It's been very rarely that someone's got into a fight, and it's mainly been self-defense.
Right.
But we have a strict rule that no getting into street fights at all.
And also the training is such, I believe, which makes you more self-aware on the things that you can do, and that you can get hurt more than anybody else if you actually start a fight on a street, right? So I think it makes you, exactly.
Yeah, both. Like you understand what might happen to you. For example, if I get into a fight with someone and he's a BJJ black belt, man, we're going to have a 30-minute. Am I willing to do a 30-minute with someone in a mall or on the street? Not really.
No, not really.
Not really. Or he's somebody who knows nothing. And then maybe I hurt him too much, dangerous. Then I'm dangerous. Maybe I go for a shoulder lock. He moves the wrong way. I just wanted to control him, but now I've broken his shoulder. That can also happen. So people who train will generally be a lot more chill in life. They will not seek out fights. They'll be less anxious. People who are more anxious are the people who haven't gotten into fights because they're anxious about that.
And the ego, I think that's a big one, because most of the street fights, they start because of ego. And the first thing that you let go of when you start mixed martial arts class is your ego.
Because you've had 30 people in the class who've beaten you up today. So you're like, I don't want a 31. Right. I don't want to have a 31. I've had 30 fights today. I've had a lot of sparring. I don't want to get into it. It's okay. What does he want? He wants what? My wallet, take it here.
Yeah, because you're more aware of the consequences.
I'll just go home and cancel all the cards. What will he get? Like, doesn't matter. So it just makes you more relaxed and more peaceful and more zen. Right. That's what it makes you.
Right. Okay, so I would want to talk a bit about Anshu Jubli, the star and the King of Lions, as he's known. The fight name. I wanted to know about the fight name that the fighters have. Is it a must? Is it like a compulsion when they compete? It's not. It's not.
So Anshu got irritated. Actually, the name is he should tell you the whole story, but I saw it happening.
Yeah.
He was fighting some opponent, and the opponent was some lion or some king, some tiger or something. And he got so irritated. He was like, everyone's either a lion or a tiger or whatever. He's like, I'm going to be the king of these. I'm going to be the king of lions. Everyone's a lion, tiger. I'm going to be the king of lions. And that's how
the name was
that's
coined.
How it came. And it was coined a lot before he made his pro debut. His name was King of Lions before his first pro fight. He was an amateur and he was already calling himself King of Lions. So
it's fitting.
It's always been that. And people didn't take him seriously. Who takes an amateur fighter seriously? Nobody does.
Nobody. It's only in a country like ours.
Exactly. And that's how he got his first fight. They called us literally like 2 weeks before an MFN card where there was a fighter by the name of Sanjeev Budwar, who he's the most scary fighter in MFN. Featherweight champion of Matrix Fight Night And at the time,
featherweight is 145 pounds.
yeah, 65 kilos.
65
and
kilos,
he was fighting lightweight at the time, 70 kilos, and they were looking for opponents for him. And all the fighters were saying, we don't want to fight him because he's a killer. He kills people. He knocks them out cold.
Okay.
So they called, everyone had turned him down. They called me and they said, coach said, we're looking for a lightweight fighter, Sanjeev Budwar. Do you have someone who can fight him?
Right.
And I said, I have one guy. His name is Anshu Jubli. He's never fought pro before.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know he's fighting Sanjeev Budwar. I said, yeah. And they were like, you know everyone's turned him down, right? You know he knocks people out. I said, I know. Are you sure about this Anshu Jubli kid? I said, I guarantee you Anshu Jubli beat Sanjeev Budwar. And yeah, I gave his name and I asked Anshu, you want to fight?
Yeah.
Anshu said, yeah. I said, Sanjeev Budwar? He said, coach, can I win? I said, 1000% you can win. And yeah, he went in his first 2 weeks training, went in, fought the biggest name in Indian MMA at lightweight, beat Sanjeev Budwar. All of a sudden, everybody knew who Anshu Jubli was.
Right.
Went on to win 5 more fights in Matrix Fight Night, beat everybody from like all Amit Raj, Ranjit, Tushikant Shekhar, beat everybody. Beat a foreign fighter in his last fight in the MFN. And yeah, next thing we know, we got a call from the UFC saying that is he interested in go to the UFC?
Right.
What am I going to say?
They're the one who approached?
Yeah, they approached. And they were like, what do you think?
Right.
I said, he's ready. He's born ready.
Right.
They were like, oh, it's short notice, it's a couple of months. I said, he was ready 2 years ago.
I mean, because his first pro fight was in 2 weeks' notice. I mean, that's insane.
I said, 2 months it's way too long for us.
Yeah.
Be ready.
Is then officially a
Officially
UFC
the
fighter.
UFC, yeah.
I mean, what a road it has been.
Was there anything different about him when he walked in the class? Was there anything that stood out from the rest of your students?
So the first time Anshul came for class, a few people actually came to me and they said, there's a guy who's come for training.
Yeah.
He says he's never trained before,
Okay.
but clearly the way he's moving, he knows what's up.
Right.
So I watched him and he was rolling with one of our guys, Tushar. And Tushar was pretty decent.
Right.
And Anshul was able to sweep Tushar and get on top. And I was like, oh, it's very rare for a new guy to come in and do a move like that.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the guys who came up to me was Punya,
Okay.
who's one of the top fighters in India.
Right.
And he was like, coach, I think this guy is somewhere else. So, and now Punya and Anshul are best friends. But at the time, Punya was like, I think this guy is from, some rival gym. He's come to check us out. So I spoke to him. And he was like, hi coach, or like, what's your name?
Some
Where
sort
you
of
from?
spy or something.
Yeah, people do that. The people from other gyms who come just to check
really?
out. Like, what's, yeah, it's a long. I can tell you so many stories about that.
Maybe for the next one.
Maybe the next one. But yeah, so I spoke to him afterwards. He was like, no coach, I have fought MMA before. He had amateur fights, but he had never trained. Like nobody taught him. He would watch fights on YouTube, learn stuff from fights, and just doing what he saw on YouTube.
Yeah.
So completely untrained, but he had a natural ability. I will not say first time I looked at him, I knew he was a world champion. No. I saw that he has physical ability. He knows how to move,
Right.
and he's learning very quickly. That was the first few things that I realized.
Right.
And he got completely immersed in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
He got very deep in it very fast.
Okay.
It's only later on he started adding boxing to it, wrestling to it. But initially he just fell in love with jiu-jitsu. So while most people see him now as a boxer and his roots are always going to be jiu-jitsu. If ever I see him, he's in the side of the mat, he's sitting with one of our coaches, Shivansh, and they're just going over technique. They're going through leg locks and entering, even though he doesn't get to show it in his fights a lot, but deep down he's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
So just to see him from the initial days, how dedicated and sincere he was.
Obsession,
Yeah, exactly. He was obsessed. And I think for any young kids coming up, you can do what you're told to do in class and go back and be happy with it, or you can take what is being taught, drill it, revise it, see the technique from every angle possible, obsess over it, come back with more questions with your coach the next day, and that will make you so much better than just someone who got it, he tried it and went home. So be obsessed with technique, because if you fight someone who's as strong as you, as big as you, as fast as you, the only differentiating factor is technique. You can learn a lot of technique, and that's what we do at Crosstrain Fight Club. We focus so much on technique because I feel anybody can do push-ups and sit-ups and run and blah, blah. It's technique which takes time.
Exactly.
So with Anshul, we focused a lot on technique. He's so well-rounded because we got him to obsess over technique. So he studies and analyzes and he watches fights. I remember before one of his fights, before Kim's fight, I told him, and he's a young guy, and I told him, Anshu, you should model your fighting on GSP, George St. Pierre.
St. Pierre, yeah.
One of the greatest. He's like, coach, I've never seen his fight. I'm like, bro, he's a boxer wrestler, and you want to be a boxer and you're a good wrestler. That's your game, and you've never seen his fight. So we literally sat down before his fight in Abu Dhabi. We sat down and we watched GSP fight Thiago Alves, and Anshu was like, this is what I want. Like, I want to be this guy. I want to be similar to GSP.
Right.
So it's a lot of those moments where you see him. I tell him this. It's almost like opening a door for him. I open the door for him, and then he goes in there and completely dominates that route.
All the conviction
completely,
that he has.
He's gone and studied all of GSP's fights. He knows all his takedowns. He knows all his entries.
That's cool.
So that's what I'm saying. As a coach,
the Superman punch and all of that.
Exactly. So my whole goal was to open opportunities to show him where he can go with it, and then he ran with it. He'll come back and he asks so many questions. It's amazing. I'm blessed to have people like that I'm working with. Tell him that you're still at 70% of your capacity.
Yeah.
There's still so much room for improvement. People have watched you at 70%. There's still way more to do. His boxing can be better. His kickboxing can be better. His wrestling can be better. He's a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu right now. He can be purple, brown. So much he can do. So I think still people have not seen the best of Anshu Jubli.
I'm sure. And I'm sure he has a bright future. The kind of confidence that he has, and the dedication that you're talking about, and with you being the head coach. And I think people don't understand how important the role of a coach is.
Yeah.
People only see the fighters in the limelight and them talking and their interviews, their pictures or whatever. So I hope they realize that very soon. To conclude things, if you have a message for people who are still skeptical about the sport, parents who are still skeptical on sending their children onto training.
So I'll say something to the fighters.
Right.
One thing I'll tell them is, when you're deciding, firstly, if you've decided कि MMA खेलना है, you've decided you want to be an MMA fighter, then please go to the best training academy around you and available. We as Indians are very conscious of money and we're very conscious of the price, but unlike other sports, you should be willing to pay a little bit extra for a good training academy, because the coaches and the training partners that you get in a good training academy is totally worth the extra money that you put. As a competitive athlete and a fighter, you have a short window. You have, I'll say, 5 years in which you can make it or break it. If in those 5 years you try to save some money and go to a crap academy, you're going to waste time there.
Right.
So in those 4 to 5 years, see that as an investment. Take money from parents, family, or get a job, get some money, invest it in your training, best academy you can, because you're going to fast track yourself to a much higher level in skill, in technique, and you'll start winning fights a lot quicker. You can train in a park for free. You can buy a punching bag, put it in the house, and it's free, completely free for training, but you're not going to reach anywhere in life. So if you're looking to make it a career, please take out some money, take out some time, put a few years in, come to a good training academy. There are many all over India. Go to the best one. Don't go to an academy where they don't have a track record of good fighters, where the coach himself doesn't train. Gone are the days where you go to a master who's fat, sitting on a chair, and people are touching his feet. If an academy is like that, don't go there, because modern day MMA is not like that. Go. He should be training, he should be teaching, he should be competing. That's when you know the academy is legit. If the whole team has a bunch of athletes, they're competing, training, that's a good sign that you're in the right academy. For the parents, I know it's scary initially right now, because you don't know if sport ka future kya hai, but that's the case with any new sport. It's a very new sport. But let me tell you that it's the fastest growing sport in the world. More and more people are finding out about it. The ecosystem is getting stronger every day. Every day new academies are opening up. Every day new promotions are coming in. New fighters are coming out, becoming famous. So your student getting into it now, your son or daughter getting into it now, this is the best time to get into it, because you will be one of the pioneers of the sport going forward. You start training now, in 5 years, 10 years, you're going to be a legend in Indian MMA. So start now. Your son or daughter is going to be really well off if you give them a real chance to dominate that sport today.
Absolutely. So that's beautiful. And as I said, I mean, I could do this all day.
Yeah.
But then unfortunately it has to come to an end, and probably we can continue our session. Again, he was kind enough to let us inside his beautiful academy and have this chat. I'm so grateful to him, and again, it was a pleasure.
Thank you,
I enjoyed
man.
it very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hi guys, it's me again, Moji Basar, and if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel for many more. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Until then, keep punching.